Today's album's from 1976, an album called Playgue by a band called Locust. If you've never heard of this band, that's because this is the only album they've ever released on a record label, Anuit Coeptis, I think, that only released one album, this one, which is kind of ironic. Its name of the record label, the logo is essentially the Great Seal of the United States, with the pyramid in the eye and everything. And I believe the Latin translates roughly to "He favors our undertakings," which is pretty ironic considering that their entire library consists of pretty much this. Packaging's a little strange. It's like a snail on an alien planet. Not really quite sure what they're trying to instill here on the front. On the back, there's a lot of sort of praise for the project, the record, which isn't always the greatest sign. Usually if something's great, it sort of speaks for itself and you don't really need to praise it anymore, but it's there, so, maybe it's okay. So right away, listening to the album, you can kind of know what you're in for. It's competent. Obviously, these are musicians. The singer's got a very 70s standard, pretty good rock voice, pretty straightforward 70s rock. Nothing really virtuosic, nothing really I haven't heard before, but nothing's dysfunctional. There's no obvious errors or harsh noises, or it's not, unlistenable. And this is kind of a theme for, the entire album. It's fairly repetitive. It's very 70s. The lyrics kind of sound like they're saying something, but don't really say anything. But that's also the main problem with the album. It's just not interesting. This came out in 76, so Queen's, Night at the Opera, Bohemian Rhapsody, interesting, never heard of before sort of things. Unfortunately, the question's just really, why would I listen to this when there's so much out there that is more interesting, is more innovating, is more groundbreaking, is distinctive, is unique, has a certain sort of pull to it? Why this record? And I think the subsequent lack of releases from both album and band sort of answer that question, that no one did. On the album, there's a bit of variation. Some songs are a little heavier than before. There's distortion on one song. There's not distortion on another. Some songs have bridges. Some songs don't. They're all pretty similar in terms of tempo, in terms of texture, in terms of phrasing. Again, not bad, but when you hear the same thing over and over and over again, it's just not engaging. It's not, it doesn't draw me in. It doesn't keep me wanting to listen. That being said, there are a couple, standout tracks on the album. Madonna, wasn't entirely bored listening to it, even though the song's 8.5 minutes. Drumming, a little up in the forefront. You can obviously tell he's one of the more skilled musicians of the group. And and it shines through here and there and passes in a couple of tracks. The song right after it, on the B side, All of You / Turnaround Lady, also pretty cool. It's kind of two songs in one. The first half is kind of really boring, and the second half is interesting. And this song is a rare example of where simplicity in their riffs sort of work. It is repetitive, but, I didn't want to actively turn it off or tune out or, stare at a blank wall while listening to it. But I don't really understand why these songs are sort of together. Why not just have these be two separate cuts? I guess maybe because as independent songs, they're not long enough to stand on their own. But I mean, two unfinished things together don't make a whole thing necessarily. And I think it kind of shows. Overall, it's pretty much the same thing. Ballad here, rock song there, kind of annoying 70s synth thrown in. Some of it's okay, some of it's not. Some songs have vocal harmonies, others don't. It's just all of it from top to bottom, start to finish. Inside and Out really shows how mediocrity just kind of kills it. It's fine. I'm sure in a bar, this is very okay, people are getting, having a couple drinks. This is some nice things to sort of have in the background. You kind of like it. You're talking to a friend, whatever. But sitting down, just listening to it, I don't know. Although there's a lot of, mystery surrounding this band. I wonder if they had finished some of those kind of puzzle piece smushed together songs, or had given each piece a little more thought, bumped up, the sort of ingenuity, the sort of melodic curves, sort of given it more of a driven thing. I think there's enough to show promise here, but unfortunately it's just not really fully realized. Again, and how did the band feel about this music? Did they think they were killing it and going to be, the next Beatles or whoever, or they dive bar band that made it big and got a record deal? Were they stoked, or was this sort of a starting point for them? I really can't tell, if this was the pinnacle of their creativity, or if this was a band that never really had a start. If you're absolutely desperate for noise to have on in the background that's you kind of know what it's going to sound like, but you just want it to be different, this is fine. This works for that. Otherwise, if you're expecting some thought-provoking, life-changing, memorable, engaging, new favorite album, I don't think this is it. Not necessarily worth a listen, in my opinion, but if you want to, there you go. You're very welcome to. The whole thing's here up on YouTube. So let me know. If any of you do give it a listen, tell me what you thought. Am I right? Am I not seeing genius? Is this even overrated for what I'm giving it here? Let me know what you think.